Many people have asked me, Zhao, is it better to be loved or hated? So let's talk about that a bit. Let's talk about whether it's better to be known as being a giver or a taker. It's better to be known as a giver, better to have a reputation for giving if your own benefit is enough, and if you can defend yourself from all attacks. If you're reputed, if you have a reputation for being a giving person and being kind, you want to keep in mind that any kind of giving which does not bring you a reputation for it is dangerous. You follow that? You understand? Any giving which does not bring you a reputation for it is dangerous. Should you be kind or cruel? Generally, it's better to be regarded as kind. However, there are some situations where cruelty can actually be more merciful if you're not allowing disorder and chaos to arise. In some situations, cruelty can actually be more merciful. You need to use your own wisdom, use your own judgment, and cultivate your own virtue so you really understand those situations. Next, we want to talk about what causes people to hate you. What are the reasons people become hated? The reason we want to talk about this is because it's a counter model. It's the opposite of what you want to do. So once you clearly understand what causes people to hate you, you do the opposite. Very, very simple. In fact, if you're engaged in some kind of social offensive, some kind of social conflict, you can position or frame your opponent within these contexts to cause people to hate them. Being greedy causes people to hate you. If you're in social conflict, you can frame your opponent as being greedy. Being a violator of other people's property or income causes people to hate you. If you're in social conflict, you can frame your opponent that way. My opponent violates other people's property or income. He takes from the poor. He taxes people too much, whatever. And finally, violating other people's honor. This is a very, very, very important one. This is probably the most serious of the three. If you're in social conflict with somebody and you can frame them as a violator of people's honor, if you can say, my opponent has violated your honor, and frame that and contextualize that and position your opponent in such a way that people see that they have violated their honor, that's one of the most powerful types of social control that you can have. Next, we want to talk about what makes people hold you in contempt. Being contemptible, being held in contempt, is not as bad as being hated, but is certainly not as good as being loved. These are the things which cause people to hold you in contempt. Being fickle. That means not being able to make a decision, not being able to commit to anything. This gets back to the Heaven Quadrant principle of commitment, consistency, clarity of purpose. What are you going to stand for from now on? Being frivolous. Being effeminate, particularly if you're a male. Being mean-spirited. Again, we want to be kind. We want to demonstrate our kindness, and we want to demonstrate our kindness in a way that people understand that we're kind. And finally, being indecisive. This is, again, very similar to being fickle. So these are the things which cause people to hold you in contempt. It's better to have a reputation for giving if your own benefit's enough, if you can defend yourself from all attacks, and if you have a reputation for giving and kindness, you want to make sure that that reputation is maintained, that any giving you do and any kindness you commit furthers your reputation for being giving and being kind. You want to be kind if possible rather than cruel. There are some situations where cruelty can actually be more merciful, and those types of situations are where you don't allow disorder and chaos to arise, where you have to crush something to prevent, or crush someone to prevent disorder and chaos or further suffering. The three main causes of people hating you are being greedy, violating other people's property or incomes, or violating other people's honor. And people will hold you in contempt if you're fickle, frivolous, effeminate, mean-spirited, or indecisive.